G'day guys, welcome to the Iron Empire. This time, we're going to be playing with my DATSUN Minitruck. Alright, here we are in the carport. I've got the little Datsun in here and the XY, and it's all sealed up, but I still managed to get tons of leaf and litter in here. But my beloved little Datsun. Now, if you have been around the SA car scene, you will know this car. I take it everywhere. But it has been in hibernation for quite a while, and I'm surprised it's even taken me this long to show you guys, because this is one of my favourite cars, and I think it will probably be with me forever because it owes me next to nothing. It owes me a lot of hours, but not much money, and it is just cool. So I'm going to tidy up in here, pull it out, give it a bit of a birthday. I'm going to give you a walk around the good old DATSUN 520. Alright, now before I get carried away, let's see if this thing starts. Can't remember if I even disconnected the battery or whatnot. It is squeezy in here. That's not good. Typical, I've left the freaking battery connected. So I have to charge that and try and find one that's got some juice in it. After I checked the battery, it was actually loose, so it might actually have a little bit of juice left in it, so it might fire up. So before I swap a battery over, I'll try and get a bit of fuel in it and see how we go. Now, you've seen me fill these things up with an old aerosol lid 100 times before, but the beauty of this thing is, check this out. Not only can I fill it up, but the good old Nicky Carby shows me when it's full. It's one of the most handiest things ever. This Carby has got me out of trouble a lot of times because I've been chasing fuel problems and trying to work out what's going on, and this shortcuts a lot of that. Alright, see how we go, give it a kick in the guts, see if we have any joy. Yeah. And this thing is stone cold. I'm going to make a liar out of myself because I want to talk it up and say how good this thing is, but it's probably going to make me look like a fool now. This thing usually just needs one pump of the throttle and then turn. But I haven't run in about 6 months. I love this car. Alright, so I'm going to let that idle away. This thing has always been perfect. It just fires up, idles no matter what. Nothing, don't have to keep the revs up, no choke, it's amazing. So while this thing warms up and I get a bit of air into the air tanks, because yes, it's on airbags, I'm gonna lift the blinds, clear the back, and we're gonna pull her out. So all I want to do today, guys, is pretty much just give it a service, because it's well and truly due for one of those. Might go try and... I can't even remember where the gears work. There we go, let's reverse. Too long. trying to tree this thing. Put it up on ramps, make life easy for myself for a change. Drop the oil and just do the basics, and then we'll have a good walk around this thing, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Alrighty, so I've got some basics, an air filter, oil filter, and of course some oil. I've got HPR 30 for this thing because it's an old motor. HPR 30 goes in just about anything old school. Don't quote me on that, but I use it on just about everything. The only thing I didn't get was plugs, because I think after chasing down the part number, we forgot to get them anyway, so whatever. But it doesn't necessarily need them. Now I'm gonna also try and get the air filter on this thing fitted, because would you believe I've had this thing since I think 2014, I've never had an air filter on it. Every time I've tried, the car's run like crap for some reason. So maybe a slight tuning issue there, don't know, but I'm gonna try and get that done because it would be nice to save what's left of this motor. It does run fine, but it's obviously no powerhouse. So yeah, I'm gonna get stuck into just doing the service, and then it's really badly due for a good clean. I think I've pinched the mirrors. I had fender mirrors on this, which were off like a 66 Mustang. I think I've pinched them for another project, maybe a couple of Valiants. I'm unsure, but I'll have to get a couple of those. I really just want to give it a good clean and just basically blow the cobwebs out of it. So we'll get stuck with the oil filter change and oil, and yeah. It's been so long since I've been under this thing, I'd forgotten that I actually made a big, strong skid plate, which goes from the rad support panel down to the engine cross member. As you can see, there's a fair, decent oil leak happening on this. This car was built so that it could be dragged, so I could drag the chassis rails with an extensive amount of suspension and chassis work. So I think I'm gonna have to pull this plate off so I can access the sump plug. Obviously at the time I was more worried about saving the sump than changing the oil, so I probably could drill a big hole in it so it's easy to access, but realistically I did actually think ahead and I made it quick release, 4 bolts, and I can get to the sump. So I'll do that now, and probably a good thing that I'm under here checking a few things out, because it's probably due for some more than just oil. Well then, shit off. Alrighty, so now I've got access to my sump plug. I thought while I'm under here, I'll show you some of the other stuff I've done, which is kind of tricky because I'm rolling around on the ground as usual. But just up here, I don't know if you can see, that would have been where the spline of the torsion bar went in from factory. So this originally obviously was a torsion bar front end, so no springs. And it's now airbagged. Lower control arm I modified with a bag bracket, and I put a bag mount up here, and then I've got a shock mount coming off the back of the lower control arm to relocate, because the shock used to go exactly where the bag is. Maybe a better angle for you up there. Now this was the first car that I'd ever been involved in bagging, and took about 3 months part-time. There was also a lot of cross-member mods in the front. I had to tub the front, which I'll show you now. The front was tubbed into here. As you can see, that's not factory. And the tubs also went into the foot, like where your feet go in the car. So probably about, yeah, maybe sort of 12 inches of that come into the car. That was so we could get the cross member completely onto the ground, because if you're not going to go onto the ground, why even bother doing it? So that's the basic front end setup on it. I'll get to the back once I finish with the service. So I'll finally get to doing that service, and then we'll move on. Remember to always make sure that the oil filter rubber has come off of the block, and put a smear of fresh oil on the rubber. Day one stuff. Right, so I'm trying to get this air cleaner on again. Now, like I said, I've never had much luck with this thing before, so I've always just run this car with no air cleaner. Which is stupid, I know, but we'll get this all fitted up. I'll throw a cleaner on it, and then I'm going to take it down the car wash and degrease this thing, because this engine bay is horrid. I've run a spanner over everything, and a lot of stuff was a little bit loose, like around some gaskets and stuff, so hopefully that'll take care of half of my oil leaks. See, this is why you shouldn't touch things. I've got a random noise now. Alright, we've got all the front end off this thing. Yeah, for some reason, developed some sort of knock. So naturally I went to all the spots on the car that I'd worked on, and everything was tight and nothing was touching. Ended up taking off the fan and the shroud, pulley, and the noise has gone away. So I guess I'll slowly start putting pieces on one by one to isolate what it was. But at least it wasn't anything too serious, because now quiet as a mouse. Very good. Alright, well, I finally got the fan back on. This two-piece fan is the worst designed thing I've ever seen. Just tightening the shroud back up, and hopefully the noise is gone. She gone. Who knows? What? It started again. It literally just started again randomly. Alright, so here comes the part of the drive where you remember all the things that are broken and all the things you need to fix. The clutch feels real spongy. The brakes have always been bad, and that water pump is intermittently, well, I'm assuming it's a water pump, something is intermittently making noises. So it will knock and then it will go away and come back. So, but I think it's the water pump. As soon as I took the load off of it, as in no fan and no belts, it was fine. So I'll just order another one of those. If you know anywhere great to find early Datsun parts, hit me up, because I'm a little bit out of touch. Trying to find stuff for these things from the local auto store is pretty challenging sometimes. But anyway, I'm going to go give this thing a bit of a clean, and then I'm going to meet up with my mate Marty. He wants to take a couple photos of it and hopefully get a bit of footage for you guys. Alright, well, this is it, the Datto. quick rundown on this car. I bought it back in 2013. For about a year I drove it around with just lowering blocks and the standard like that. Ended up putting just a jerry can under the bonnet and driving around because the fuel tank was knackered. And a year later decided that it needed to be low. So took it up to a mate's shop at the time and we notched the chassis, put a new cross member in, 4-link, tub in the front, bags all around, all second-hand parts. This whole build cost me probably $1,500, $2,000, probably on the lower end of that actually. And so as the car sits, it's probably a $3,500 car. Paid $500 for it, put it in the back of my little truck and drove it home. It's always been a reliable little jigger. Having said that, today has given me a few challenges, so maybe I jinxed myself by trying to do a video on it today. But there's definitely a few things I need to do to it. I want to do a few more things on the motor to make it more reliable. But preventative maintenance would be probably a good idea. The list goes on with this car. Where the tank was, I've now run jerry cans because there's a 4-link there. So now the jerry cans are actually operating the fuel system. The roof was knackered, so I ended up repairing that and putting some hot rod scallops on it. Just going to try and preserve the patina paint. As you can see, the Iron Empire motorcycles door decals were when back in the day when I was building a lot of bikes and stuff. So this was my little cruiser. I used to take Harleys to shows and stuff on this thing, and so it's been a bit of a crowd favourite. Inside, just a neat little hot rod inspired trim with some pinstriping done by my mate Brenton, who done a lot of stuff on my videos so far. So he's not a trimmer, but he's done a bloody good job of that. Overall, this is a pretty bulletproof little cruiser. I just thought I'd come out for one spin tonight. I haven't got much time because it's going to get dark, and I remember the lights are actually playing up, so I have to sort that out. Future upgrades I want to hit up with this car, and I will show you all that on a future episode, so stay tuned for that. Well, that's it for this time on the Datsun, but check back because there will be some future upgrades that I want to do on this thing, and you'll see that on a future episode. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and check out the online store. I'll see you all next time on the Iron Empire. Cheers, guys.